You know that feeling, right? That cold, knot in your stomach moment when you look at a bank statement. Or maybe it's just the cost of living constantly ticking up, making you worry about unexpected bills.
Yeah, it's incredibly common. Financial stress, it really is pervasive, hits people everywhere.
Absolutely. And the usual advice is always budget better or, just stop buying stuff. But what if the real key, the most powerful tool for feeling financially stable, isn't a spreadsheet at all? What if it's actually, well, a specific mindset?
That is precisely what the research we've looked at today suggests. We're sort of looking beyond the obvious, past the income numbers and net worth figures.
Right.
We're examining the psychological bedrock of financial security. And our sources, including some pretty solid academic studies, they point towards this fascinating link between resilience, our attitudes about money, and importantly, mindfulness.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that counterintuitive idea. The evidence suggesting that your internal mental toolkit, your ability to cope, might actually be a stronger predictor of your quality of life than, well, how much money you actually have.
Exactly. It's about how mental fitness could be the cornerstone of genuine financial stability.
Let's start with what happens physically, physiologically, when that financial stress hits. Because it's more than just worrying, isn't it?
Oh, much more. It's a deep, ancient reaction. When that stress hits, the brain basically flags it as a survival threat.
Like a real danger.
Precisely. It kicks off that whole fight, flight, or freeze response. Your heart starts racing, muscles get tense, breathing gets shallow. It's like your body is prepping to run away from, I don't know, a pile of debt.
Which is abstract, right? Not something you can physically run from. And when you're in that state, that survival mode, thinking clearly is, it's almost impossible.
Exactly right. The rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex that handles planning and logic, it kind of goes offline. And that directly leads to those really unhelpful financial reactions we often see, rushed, panicky decisions about investments, or the classic head in the sand approach.
Just stuffing the bills in a drawer.
Yeah, pretending they don't exist. The irony is the stress itself makes you less capable of solving the very problem causing the stress.
And this isn't just about making poor choices financially. It can spiral into a real mental health issue for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Financial stress is a huge driver of anxiety, depression, and just feeling bad about yourself. It creates these intense feelings of shame, helplessness.
Which can lead to more unhelpful behaviors.
Definitely. That's often when things like emotional spending creep in, shopping not because you need something, but just to feel better, to escape the stress or boredom for a little while.
So if that stress reaction is all about being swept away, about reacting instead of responding, the answer has to involve being more present, right? Is that where mindfulness fits in? How did John Kabat-Zinn put it?
His definition is beautifully simple, really. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally.
Okay, non-judgmentally. That feels key with money.
It is. So financial mindfulness, or FM, is just applying that specific kind of awareness to your whole relationship with money, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions around it.
And what does that do for us, psychologically speaking?
Well, one really fundamental thing it achieves is something we could call dematerialization. It sounds fancy, but it just means learning to see your own thoughts and worries like fears about scarcity or failing financially as mental events, not necessarily as objective reality.
Okay, that makes sense because so much of the panic comes from imagining the worst case scenario, right? Something that hasn't actually happened.
Exactly. Dematerialization helps you treat the thought, I'm gonna lose everything, as just that, a thought. A powerful one, maybe, but not a definite prediction of the future.
So, if you lose some money on an investment.
Right. Mindfulness would help you see it as, okay, a loss happened. It's a number. It's data. It's not a reflection of your worth as a person or a sign that complete ruin is inevitable. You separate the financial event from the catastrophic fear story your mind might be spinning.
That separation sounds like a superpower in today's financial world. The source is even called FM an act of rebellion. What's rebellious about it?
Well, it's fundamentally pushing back against that constant societal message, isn't it?
Yeah.
The one that says happiness and success are all about buying more, having more, consuming more.
Right. Keeping up.
Exactly. FM is like saying, hold on, my self-worth isn't actually tied to my bank balance or the stuff I own. It's refusing to just blindly accept that equation.
And having that mindful distance, that pause, it helps us fight off those cognitive biases too, right? The mental shortcuts that lead to bad money decisions.
Yes, definitely. Two big ones that FM helps counter are loss aversion and present bias.
Loss aversion.
Right.
That's the one where losing hurts more than winning feels good.
Precisely. Losing, say, $100 feels way worse psychologically than gaining $100 feels good. And that makes us overly cautious sometimes, or hang on to losing investments too long.
And present bias is just wanting the good stuff now.
Pretty much. Why struggle to save for retirement decades away when that shiny new thing or that vacation feels so good right now? FM helps you notice those biases in action. It creates space to choose differently.
So it shifts you away from constantly worrying about what you don't have.
Yes, away from that scarcity mindset towards cultivating more of an abundance mindset, which isn't about pretending you're rich, but about appreciating and managing what you do have and what you can control right now.
Okay, this is where the hard data comes in. Let's really unpack this study comparing material capacity income against mental capacity mindfulness. It looked at vocational students in China. Why them specifically?
Yeah, that sample was really informative. These were students in high poverty areas facing immense pressure, academic, family expectations, often real financial scarcity. They're at this critical life transition point.
So it makes the comparison between resilience and income really sharp.
Exactly. It's a high-stress environment where coping mechanisms are truly tested.
And the study focused on resilience. That ability to bounce back from tough times is the link between things like mindfulness and income and a person's overall quality of life. So what happened when they directly compared the impact of mindfulness versus family income?
This is where it gets really striking. I mean, the difference was huge. When they looked at the total effect on quality of life, mindfulness had a large, significant impact. The statistical measure, the beta coefficient, was 0.50.
Okay, for those of us not deep in stats, what does a beta of 0.50 actually mean in practical terms?
It means mindfulness is a really strong predictor. A higher level of mindfulness strongly correlated with a significantly higher reported quality of life. It's a powerful link.
A strong relationship. And what about family income, the actual material side?
That's the kicker. In stark contrast, the total effect of family income on quality of life was, well, almost negligible. The beta was just 0.01.
0.01 compared to 0.50.
Exactly. We're talking about an effect that's 50 times weaker. So essentially, once you get past maybe very basic needs being met, the psychological tools you use, your mindful coping skills, were shown to be vastly more influential on how good you feel about your life than the actual amount of money your family had.
Wow. Okay, let me just process that.
Yeah.
So assuming you're not in extreme poverty, your mental strategy for handling stress, being able to regulate your emotions without getting stuck ruminating or withdrawing.
Yeah.
That's a much bigger factor in your well-being than simply having more money.
That's the core takeaway. The study suggests mindful coping builds resilience because it helps people manage those intense negative emotions without getting overwhelmed or blaming themselves. And that resilience, in turn, is what really boosts quality of life.
Now, there was an interesting detail and nuance related to gender in that study.
Yes, that's important context. So mindfulness had a strong positive effect on resilience and quality of life for both the young men and young women in the study. That was consistent. But family income. It showed basically no significant effect on quality of life for the male students.
But it did for the female students.
Correct. For the female students, higher family income did have a relatively large, significant positive effect on both their resilience and their quality of life.
Huh. What's the thinking behind that difference?
It's likely complex and cultural. The researchers suggest that in contexts where perhaps resources or opportunities might be traditionally tilted towards male family members, having access to external financial support might be particularly empowering for women. It could disproportionately boost their sense of agency and resilience, sort of helping to level the playing field.
That's fascinating. It could suggest financial mindfulness isn't just an internal tool, but it could potentially play a role in navigating systemic issues too. Gives you internal stability, even if the external situation is volatile or, frankly, unfair.
Precisely. It offers a source of internal control.
Which brings us nicely to the really practical stuff. If this mindful state is so key for resilience, what can you, the listener, actually do? What are some daily exercises to start shifting towards a more mindful financial life and break out of that reactive spending cycle?
Yeah, let's get concrete. We can group the strategies into, say, mindful spending habits and mindset management.
Okay, starting with spending.
The absolute key is creating space. Space between the impulse to buy and the actual action.
How do you do that in the moment?
It starts with what we can call the pause and reflect technique. Before you make a non-essential purchase, just stop. Take maybe 3 slow, deep breaths. That actually helps engage your rational brain. Then ask yourself, do I truly need this right now? And maybe, why do I want it? Is it solving a real need or an emotional itch?
And critically, does this purchase align with my bigger goals or value?
Exactly. But you mentioned willpower earlier, how it runs out. This isn't just about gritting your teeth and saying no.
Right. How is it different?
It's about observation, not judgment. You're not telling yourself you're bad for wanting the thing. You're just getting curious about the wanting itself, non-judgmentally investigating the urge. That makes the pause feel less like deprivation and more like, well, like insight.
Makes sense.
And you can formalize that pause with something like the 24-hour rule. Pick a dollar amount, say $50 or $100. For any non-essential buy over that amount, you commit to waiting a full day before you actually purchase it.
And often the urge just fades.
Very often. That initial emotional impulse is usually quite short-lived. Delay allows clarity.
Okay, and what about tracking spending? Most people hate doing that.
Right, because they see it as this restrictive chore, just bookkeeping. But tracking with intention flips that. You're tracking not just to count pennies, but to observe your patterns, like a detective for your own habits.
Looking for the why behind the spending.
Exactly. Oh, interesting. I spent a lot on takeout this week. Was I feeling stressed, overwhelmed? Or I bought clothes online after seeing that ad. Was I bored? Understanding those emotional triggers is way more powerful than just knowing the total amount spent.
Okay, that covers spending habits.
Yeah.
What about managing the anxiety itself? Those money worries that can just loop in your head all day.
For that, we suggest actually scheduling worry time. Sounds counterintuitive, maybe.
A little bit. Like making an appointment to feel bad.
Kind of, but it's about containment. Anxiety's nature is to intrude whenever it wants. So you carve out a specific limited time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes each day, say 5 p.m., where you deliberately sit down and acknowledge all your financial anxieties. Write them down, look at them, validate them, but crucially, without judgment.
What if a big worry hits you at, like, 10 a.m.? You just ignored until 5 p.m.
Not ignore, but contain. You mentally notice the thought arise, and you can say to yourself, okay, brain, thanks for the reminder, that's important. I'll give it my full attention at 5 p.m. You acknowledge it, put it on the agenda, which stops it from hijacking your whole day with rumination. Then you deal with it constructively later.
That makes sense. What else for the mindset?
A huge one is practicing self-compassion. Look, financial mistakes happen, setbacks happen. Beating yourself up with shame and judgment, that just paralyzes you.
Right, it doesn't help you fix anything.
No, acknowledging the difficulty or the mistake with kindness towards yourself. Like, you might talk to a friend in the same situation that actually enables you to take meaningful, constructive action.
And the last technique you mentioned was gratitude. How does feeling grateful connect to finances? Seems a bit removed.
It connects directly to that scarcity mindset we talked about. Financial stress often stems from feeling like you don't have enough, focusing on lack. Cultivating gratitude deliberately shifts your focus.
To what you do have.
Exactly. Actively taking moments to appreciate the resources you do have, the stability you do possess. Maybe it's just that your bills are paid this month, or you have a roof over your head, or supportive friends. Focusing on that reduces the feeling of constant lack, which dials down the background hum of stress and actually builds your internal resilience and makes future potential threats seem less overwhelming.
So bringing it all together, the research in these techniques really underscore that our financial well-being isn't just about the numbers in our accounts.
Not primarily, no. It's heavily influenced by our mental approach, our capacity for awareness,
Yeah.
for non-judgment, for resilience. That ability to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally, that seems to be the real bedrock of security.
It's empowering, really, because it means you have agency over your sense of well-being, even when external factors like the market are unpredictable. Which leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. We've seen evidence that materialistic money attitudes, equating money solely with achievement or power or status, are negatively linked with well-being. So the question is, if you find yourself constantly making financial choices driven by the need to project status or just to keep up, could you unintentionally be undermining your own mental resilience? Could that focus on materialism actually be making you less equipped to handle the next inevitable financial bump in the road?
It really reframes the challenge, doesn't it? Maybe the main struggle isn't against our material circumstances, but against our own deeply ingrained, conditioned attitudes about what money means.
Exactly. A lot to think about there. And that's where we'll leave our deep dive for today.